A widely talked about movie this week is Goatlife, the film adaptation of a 2008 novel by author Benyamin, which in turn depicts the slave-like work life of a young Keralite in the early 1990s. That was when people flocked to the Gulf countries in search of better prospects. The protagonist of the novel lands in Saudi Arabia, but soon finds himself trapped and isolated in a desert, herding goats, where he is not even allowed to wash himself, has only the Arab bread kubus to eat, and no way to escape. Things have indeed changed since then, but even 3 decades later, India's youth are hard-pressed for jobs, and tens of thousands of them feel that their only way out of misery is to leave the country. And that at a time when India is the fastest growing major economy. Talk of growth without jobs. This week began with the startling news that 36% students of the latest batch of IIT Bombay have not been placed. The IIT has since clarified that an exit poll on April 4 has shown that only 6% of students have not been placed. But the point is, even a single student of IIT Bombay remaining unemployed is an unmistakable pointer to the state of youth unemployment and prospects in the country. And then the CNBC reported, India stares at high youth unemployment as hiring in its behemoth IT sector slows. This week, another alarming report, the India Employment Report 2024 by the Institute for Human Development and the International Labour Organization, underlines the sorry state of India's employment, particularly of youth. One of the shocking findings of the ILO IHD study is how in India, education and employment are inversely correlated, meaning the higher one's educational attainments, the lower the chances of being employed. The data on youth unemployment goes like this: illiterates 3.4%, completed secondary or higher education 18.4%, graduates 29.1%. Yes, the more you study, the less likely you will be employed. India's youth turn to InShorts for their news. InShorts puts the data succinctly. 29% of Indian graduates are jobless. 97% illiterates have a job. By the way, to understand how such large numbers of Indian students who are unfit for college reach college, you can watch the geometric video, The Class 10 Fraud. There are two other heart-burning points about the overall India employment picture. One, that employment in the country is dominated by poor quality employment in the informal sector. And two, in the pool of the total unemployed, youth comprise the largest group. To say that in numbers, nearly 90% of all employed Indians are informally employed, and 83% of India's total unemployed are youths under the age of 34 as of 2022. But pray, why are so many of our youth unemployed? A major cause is the poor quality of education and skills development. The ILO study has some dire data that 90% of Indian youth are unable to put a mathematical formula on spreadsheets. 75% are unable to send emails with attachments, and 60% cannot copy and paste files. Such poor ICT skills from a country that has provided the Silicon Valley with world-beating tech professionals makes a Satya Nadella or a Sundar Pichai appear like oasis from a barren Indian tech desert. High unemployment should be a matter of concern for any country given its explosive social consequences. In India, we've been banking on a demographic dividend, but when those millions of youth have no jobs, we fear whether they are a ticking social time bomb. This week, the oldest Malayalam daily, the Deepika, mentioned about a youth in India who has completed an MBA and then went for a 6-month butcher's course, paying 250,000 rupees, hoping to get a butcher's job in the UK. In Goatlife, the protagonist escapes a low-paying job in India to seek his career in Saudi Arabia in the 1990s, but gets trapped in a goat farm in the middle of the desert with no way to escape. 3 decades later, as I shoot this video, several young Indians, desperate for jobs and duped by agents, have been trapped in the trenches on the Russia-Ukraine war front. This is election time. A promise of jobs for youth, anyone? This edition of Geometric View salutes Rohan Bopanna, who this week rewrote his own record as the oldest ATP Masters 1000 champion at the age of 44, winning the men's doubles with Matthew Ebden at the Miami Open. Do note that unlike India's millions of unemployed youth, he is 44 and very gainfully engaged.